Hello everybody and welcome back to Scroll Tuesday. I'm back to working over on this area here. I've got this piece. I took off something here. I can't remember what it was that I took off. And I have this that I want to cover up because then I wanted to start to do some fancy stitching here. I'll just show you this little piece. I did this little piece here and I'll show you how to do that in when I work on this piece. But this is just two alternating running stitches, and then I went through with another color and I zigzagged through. So I'll show you how to do that. But first I want to do this. I want to cover this up. So what I found was a piece of, actually I'll show you what it's from if I can find the piece. I have a mess here. Of course I have a mess. I always have a mess. What did I do with it? Oh, dear, dear, dear. Just give me a second. It's here somewhere. She says. Oh, here it is. I have this piece of, I think it was a napkin or something like that. And when I was doing my words project, I wanted a 5-inch square for a background. So I used one of these. I had 4 of them. And this strip here that I'm going to use is the edge of one of them. I just cut the edge off. And I also cut off the corner off of the one I was using. That would be this corner. And I'm going to applique this and put this somewhere on my scroll as well because it's really pretty. It's already done. And it's nice. So I got that to put on too. So anyway, I found this piece here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in here. Just tuck it underneath like this so it covers this strip. And I will have to baste it in there. So it covers that. But I still have a little piece there. And so I've made some yo-yos or Suffolk puffs. I'm just going to put that there. And that will finish that off really nicely. And then I can stitch this down. So that's what I'm going to do today. But I have decided I've been making a few of these and I thought I would make one online with you. I know everybody probably knows how to do them, but I'm going to do it anyway, just in case you don't. And I'm going to be adding, I love to do circles of any kind. I love to stitch circles. I love to cut out a circle and stitch around it and go in it, whatever. I also have another one of these I just cut out, and I'm not going to make a puff out of this or a yo-yo. I'm just going to applique it somewhere and then stitch going around and around and around and around. But first, I'm going to stitch this down and attach this. Now, I'm not a fan of the center of these. I guess that's why I don't use a whole lot of them, because I find that messy. You can put a button in there, which would be fine, but this is a scroll. It has to roll, and I don't know that I want anything that high in it. I mean, it'll still roll and everything, but I just don't know if that's sort of what I want to do. So, but I will put this one on here. For me, I would rather put it this way and stitch around it, but then you miss all the pretty little flower points. So first of all, I'm going to stitch this down. Now, I'm of half a mind just to do a running stitch and be done with it. But it's really not very even, is it? It doesn't have to be even. No, I'm going to baste it. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pin it just so it doesn't move on me. There's a seam. There we go. And it's not straight. I am aware of that. And it's not straight because of that I've already stitched this other piece down. But that's okay. I really don't want it to be straight, because if it was straight, you would think it would be part of this. And it's not. It's separate from that. So maybe it's a good thing that it's not straight. One more pin. Okay, I'm just going to invisible baste this down. And that needs to be smoothed down better. And I know most of you know how to do an invisible baste. And I need to get some thread. I'm just using up end bits of old thread. I got a lot of spools that just have a little bit left on there, you know, not enough to put on a bobbin or to really do anything with. So I hope you've watched my Saturday show and tell video from Saturday, because there is a lot of beautiful stitching on that video. And I'm inspired to try some of these beautiful stitches myself. Okay, I just got to move all this stuff out of my way here. Give me some space. I'm just going to cut this off too. Don't need it that long. But I will save that for something else. And just get myself situated. And I'm going to turn my work, because I work from right to left, because I'm right-handed. So I'm just going to start here. Got a knot in my, whoops, obviously not a big enough knot. This is quite loose. It's linen, but it's quite a loose weave, so I need a bigger knot. There we go. So you just take a tiny little bite and then go a long stitch at the back. A little bite backwards and a great big long stitch at the front. And I'm going great big long because I want to. Take that out. Tiny little bite and a great big long stitch. So I have made a few yo-yos or suffolk puffs. I've heard people say Suffolk puffs. Suffolk puffs. I can't even say it myself. But there's an L in there. So I don't know if I'm not saying it right. Anyway, apparently yo-yos or Suffolk puffs were started in that region of the UK in the 1600s. And obviously, they must have been brought to North America by some person from the UK. And I don't know how they become renamed as yo-yos here, but that is what I've always known them as. All right, cut that off. And that's not going anywhere. Now, I can take that off. I will trim this up later. That's good. So, what did I do with my puff? I'm going to put it right over here. And I like that because it's different. I could put a square here, but there's squares here, and this is a square. So this is something just a little different. And I'm putting it right over this piece as well. And I'm going to applique it on, but I'm going to applique it with something pretty. A color. What color should I do? I have this gold. No, I don't want that. That's not... I want to have a contrasting color to what it is, just so you see my stitches. That might be okay. Yeah, I like this green. Why don't I do the green? And I already have it on a needle, so I will just do it this way. I've got a knot in there already too. So I'm just going to go underneath and come up. I do my applique stitch from the bottom like this. There's so many ways of doing it. On a slant. And I think what you do is you do it how it is comfortable, because some people find it uncomfortable to go from the bottom at a slant. I don't. I find it's fine. In fact, you can hardly even see my stitches. They're so tiny. And because this is round, we have to keep turning. Oopsie, I got a knot. You can barely see this green, can't you? I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and do a little running stitch all the way around my yo-yo as well. Or maybe I won't. We'll see. We will see. So circles are something that I've always loved to stitch. And on my daily stitch, I guess you could call it a journal, in 2023 that I did a square a day in sort of a calendar form. And at the end of the year, I had 12 calendar form pieces, and I stitched them all together, and I made a wall hanging. And I'll put a link to that in this description below if you have not seen it. But I did a lot of circles on there, and I didn't do any applique or anything. It was all stitched. So what I did was I would just draw out a circle. You know, I would put something like this down and go around it with a pencil, because I was working in tiny little squares. Every day was a square that I had to fill up with some kind of stitching. And then I would just start stitching, and and I loved going around. I absolutely thought it was the greatest thing, and I liked the effect very much of what I was seeing. So I actually might do some of that on here too. Just draw a circle, and then away you go. However you want to stitch it, you can. Whatever stitch you want to use, you can. This is actually quite nice. I like this now. I'm not even minding the center of it. There's been people who make quilts out of these little yo-yos. I think I would find that very boring after a while to make something like that, but I guess to each his own. So I'm going over this other little applique, but that's fine. It's still part of the applique. Yeah, I might just do that. I might draw a circle somewhere and stitch it. There's something to be said about a circle when all you have is mostly squares or rectangles. It just gives another dimension to something, which is kind of nice. And in this case, it's not intentional, but I have this long band. This is coming right up to this circle. It's quite interesting. I got to do more of that. I really like that. So I've been thinking about some of the stitches we saw on my last video on my show and tell Saturday video from Saturday. And there's quite a few that I want to give a go at, but on a smaller scale because this isn't a big piece and I don't want to overwhelm my scroll with a lot of crazy quilt type stitching. I would prefer really to do on this anyway, I would prefer to do more simple type stitching. I think it lends itself better to a scroll, but I certainly will here and there put some of those fancy little stitches in here. I don't want to overload it, but I think I've got more than 2 strands here. But that's okay. I don't mind. I have to say, I have really been enjoying the Words 2026 project with Rita Summers. I so love the activity of looking up words associated with the word that she chooses and just letting my thought process go crazy. And it's been so much fun. And then deciding how I'm going to interpret it on cloth. It's really great. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I know for a fact I'm going to finish it. And I'm turning mine into a book. And I will share that project with you once a month. At the end of every month, I'll show you what I've done because I'm putting my work in the book already. I don't have the cover of the book done, and I have not finished all the signatures, but I have enough to keep me going. And as I run out, I'll just add more. So I have been putting them in my little journal already. Now that looks good. I like that. So now I can go and stitch this down as well when I start to work on this. I haven't decided what stitches I want to use on this, but I know now that I can put that down. I actually could invisible baste it, but I'm not going to. So there. So why don't we make a puff, a Suffolk puff, and we'll see how we go. I think I'm going to make a big one. So when you make one of these, whatever the circle size, your puff is going to be exactly half that size. So this puff would have been from a piece of fabric this big. If I'm going to make from this size, my puff is going to turn out to be like this. No, I think maybe this one might have been, I think it might have been from this size. I can't remember. We'll make one out of here. Although I think this might be too big. I think this might be the same size as this, which I'm thinking now might be a bit big for this project. I'm going to go with the smaller one. And I'm going to grab some gray thread here. And I know you know how to do these. I know this for a fact. You just, I'm going to double this thread because it's really thin stuff. It was a cheap thread. I just bought it at the dollar store. And I don't remember why I bought it. Now this has a little bit of print on this side, so I'm going to use that as my outside. And I'm just going to start gathering along here. The longer your stitches when you gather, the less of a hole you will have. If you have a lot of little stitches, you're going to have a bigger hole. So if you don't want a big hole, take longer stitches. And just go all the way around. This was actually an old pair of pajamas of mine that I tea and rust dyed. They were pink, believe it or not. But the fabric was, I don't know if it was flannel. I think it was just cotton, but it was porous enough that it just took the dye like crazy. You can barely see. You can see that those little butterflies were pink, but that's it. I'm cutting too far away from the edge. All right, a couple more stitches and we're there. And we're there. So now you just pull. 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 Try not to make your thread snap break, because then you got to start it all over again. Pull. See, this has got a fairly big hole because I took little tiny stitches. And I'm going to tie a knot. Maybe that's not what you're supposed to do, but that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to go through here a little bit, back and forth just a couple of times, just to secure it a little bit better. I don't know if you're supposed to do that either, but that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to cut this off. And I'm going to tie a couple more knots. Oh, what's going on here? There we go. Cut this off. And then fiddle around with them a little bit. And there you have it, another puff. So I would actually like them even to be smaller than that. I have a little one here. somewhere between this size and this size would be nice for this girl. So there you go. There is your little yo-yos or Suffolk puffs. Now, I was going to show you how to do this stitch. And I think what I'll do is just do one right here. And I don't know that I have that same color. Yeah, I think I do. So I will get some thread from my little tangle thing here. It's a little brighter. I think it's more this color here. And I think I used 4 strands. Doesn't really matter. But I wanted that bottom thread to stand out a little bit more. So I used more than 2 strands. I don't usually use more than 2 strands, but in this case I did. And then we need this rusty color to go on top. So I'm going to find a needle that's going to hold all these strands. Got needles all over the place here. Let me see. This one will do. So the thing that you have to do is you have to really make sure that you alternate your running stitch so that you have, you know, an alternated thing. That way you can go up and down at the same time. So we're going to do it up here. I'm just going to start right here. My running stitch. And I'm going to do them fairly large. I'm not going to be able to see how large they are anyway once you wrap them. Wants to twist on me a little bit. And this will leave this middle part for, I think I'll just do regular running stitches with a more neutral color in there just to kind of finish that up. Okay, I'm going to turn this around. Let's move this out of the way. Nice thing about the scroll, it's easy to turn. I like working in one direction. That's just me. So now to alternate your stitches, you want to come up. You want to make sure you go down where the other stitch started. So you go down and come up where it ended. And that places your other stitch between. So you're going to go down and try and keep your distance the same as well. You're going to go down where this stitch starts and come up where it ends, which is quite a short stitch there, but that's okay. So we're going to do that all the way down. And that's how you get your nice alternating stitches. If you do it this way, you'll never ever fail having alternated stitches. It's a look that I like, but I don't always do it this way. Sometimes I just stitch. I don't even care if they're parallel or if they're alternating. Just depends on the mood. But for this particular wrapping thing, this is how I wanted them. I'm going to come up. No, I think I'm just going to end that one right there. And I'm going to tie that off because we don't need any more. Now we're going to thread with this rusty color, and hopefully I'll have enough. I think I should. I'm just wrapping, so it should be enough. There's 3 strands on here. Tie a knot. Fingers aren't working. Oh my gosh. My hands are so dry and I've been putting so much stuff on them, but it doesn't seem to matter. I'm going to go the other way because I've got a single stitch, that's why. So I'm going to come up just on the other side of this stitch here, on this very top stitch. I'll show you when I put this down. Come on, there you go. And I'm going to go through the top stitch, and then I'm going to go through the bottom stitch, and then I'm going to go up again through the top stitch, and then I'm going to go through the bottom stitch, and then through the top, and I'm just going to keep on alternating top to bottom. And I know you could turn your needle around to get through there easier. I sometimes do, sometimes I don't. It depends on the needle. This needle is quite big, so I really don't have to. It slides under nicely. And it's not overly sharp. I might have trouble here. No, got it. And see how you have some stitches that are going straight, and then you have some that are wrapping. It's very pretty. I'm kind of tempted to see what 3 rows would do. And I would do it the same. If there was another row, I would just keep on going and then go back up. It's going to make a different mark with the thread for sure, depending on how many rows of stitching you have. It's an experiment you can try and see what happens with it. Now this one on the top, my stitches were closer together, so the wrap is tighter, where these ones were not. So it looks a little bit different. It's exactly the same, but because my stitches were closer together, it looks a little different. And then you're just going to go back down, and that's it. Done. Finished. So there we go. We added a strip here. We added a puff. We did another stitch there, and we made another yo-yo. I think that's enough for today. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stitch in here, and I'm going to stitch in here, I might even do some stitching in here for next week. And then next week, I will be seeing what K3N did for her B, and I might do that for next week on here. But that's it for this week. So thank you for watching. Happy stitching, everybody. And I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye for now.